Yes, indeed. I'm Stan Hustad. This is Interesting Ideas, and yes, indeed. Please pay attention. Now we know. That's right. We know Hillary did it. That's right. She was the one who was involved in seeing that a Russian collusion story was planted and put out there in order to discredit her competitor for the presidency, Donald Trump. Donald Trump was not colluding with the Russians, and now we know that the whole thing was set up by people who probably knew better and went ahead and said it and did it anyhow. Now we know. Now, with that in mind, what do we know about us, ourselves, and our world from that? Well, on this Monday, as we kind of slide into the evening and get ready to go for the week ahead of us, let's talk about that, because I think you'll discover that we have some interesting ideas. The program begins right now. Thank you, my friends. And I haven't always been just a slightly overeducated disc jockey. I have been that, and I love doing that. One of the great things about my life, in the midst of all the difficulties that I have, that at this age and stage, I still have at least some of the voice and some of the energy and some of the knowledge necessary to do what I love, which is to be on the radio. And I'm hoping that whatever you are doing or what you are seeking to do is that you can do what you love for as long as you live. That's one of the goals, and that is more than an interesting idea. That's an aspiration. Now, I was also, for many years, and I still am. In fact, more and more people are saying, Stan, we need an encore. We know that you're doing this radio thing, but we could really use some of your business performance coaching. And on a selected basis, I'm willing to step back on that stage in these crucial times and do that for you and your business. So if you think I could be helpful and useful to you in that respect, and I probably could be, just let me know. One of the questions that I was well known for, in fact, it made me money and it cost me some money. I would oftentimes say in a stolen phrase, because it said that the great thinkers, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, those two great thinkers of the 18th century in New England and America, once they met, they would simply say to each other, since we last met, what is clear to you now? Clarity. What is clearer to you now? And so many of my friends and clients actually prepared for my presentation or my coaching consultation or whatever else you want to call it. I simply called it just that, a conversation. And they knew that they would be asked that question. So they prepared themselves for it as a way to begin. What is clear to me now since we last talked to Stan? What do I now know? What is clear to me since we last talked? In fact, it cost me money because on more than a couple of occasions, I was scheduled to a coaching consultation, and my client would call up with deep apologies and said, Stan, I'm really, really busy. And you know what? I know your question, and I've thought about it, and I really know, and that's helped me decide what I need to do this week, this month. So we'll just postpone my time with you this week, this month. And that cost me a gig. Well, the question still is, since we last met, since yesterday, since last week, since our last staff meeting, since our last sales report, what is clear to us now? What is clear to us now? I hope that you will be asking yourself that question. For instance, it's now Monday evening. You've been through the weekend. You've discovered what's on your marketplace menu for this week. What is clear to you now? Well, after we discussed some of those things, I was then known for another expression, NWK. NWK. And that's where I would lean forward and simply say, now we know. Finally, something is important, and now we know. Now that didn't mean that anything had changed or that anything was better or perhaps that anything was worse, but it could be because at least now we know. And throughout this entire episode called The Russian Collusion, there has been millions of dollars spent, thousands of broadcast and radio time hours, and obviously, as Trump could legitimately claim that much of his difficulty in his presidency was for 3 years he had to fend off these accusations that he was illegitimate, that his entire presidency was based on some collusion with Russia. Well, now we know. That wasn't true. He didn't do that. It was, to use his word, more than fake news. It was a lie. And some would say, as I would say, since whenever you lie to try to hurt somebody, that's a lie from the pit of hell. We lie to defend ourselves. We lie to exaggerate ourselves. We lie to make ourselves appear greater. We do a lot of things. But when we lie to hurt somebody, that is the lie from the proverbial pit. And so now we know that. Now that doesn't mean that Trump will get his presidency back. It doesn't mean that Hillary Clinton is going to be indicted. She probably won't. She usually gets off scot-free, and she'll probably do that again. But now we know, and now we can move on to other things where we might have greater understanding. Okay, now we know. After you have a conversation with somebody and a number of things have happened, please always be in mind. It's an interesting idea, which is just to simply say or ask, now, what do we know? Now we know. I went through a situation just recently where I asked someone to be a participant in a project. And I felt pretty good about it. It seemed to go very, very well. And I actually introduced the person to my wife. And, of course, Karen was the model of hospitality. After we got back home, she simply said, Stan, I'm not so sure about that choice. I just don't have good feelings about it. I don't think it's going to work. I just know that you will need a person with more stability than I sense there. Well, I said, no, well, I feel very good about it. I went through all of the reasons that I felt good about it. I know the risk. I have been betrayed more than once and more than twice. And I've had people who have disappointed me and done even worse to me in my life and business. So I know all that stuff. As I oftentimes would say to the young men and women who were seeking my counsel and they had some guilt or gut or something wrong to share with me, I affirmed to them that I would never judge them in any negative way and that there is nothing they could say or would have done that would have shocked me. Oh, not at my age and stage. Nothing will shock me. Okay, moving forward from that, though, I want to conclude our Monday by just simply saying is, what do we do now we know? Like, for instance, I discovered that Karen was right and I was not right. Now that we know, what do we do? That's up to you, but we'll finish up asking the question and perhaps a gentle suggestion. I'm Stan Hustad. The program is Interesting Ideas. Please reach out to me at stanhustad@gmail.com, stanhustad@gmail.com, because I need people like you who are interesting, who have good ideas, who understand the power of now we know, and yet they'll be here, they'll be there, they'll be with us right here to share the wisdom and insight and truth, the stars and scars that they have worn and borne, and be able to help us, here we go, be different, be unique, live better, and make our impact on our world and maybe the world. That's what we do, and we hope we can do it well. Now we know, first of all, I'm full of gratitude because now I'm not going to continue to make some mistakes. I'm not going to continue to do some stupid things. I'm not going to continue to believe things that I don't know about. Thousands and millions of people, they knew what had happened. Well, it turns out they didn't. Hundreds and thousands of people know what we should do, and they probably don't. In effect, the wisest men and women in the world are those who say, when they do know, they know it, they live with it, they act upon it, but they have a certain sense of humility about bragging about it, boasting about it, knowing that there's more information, there's more stuff coming. And so maybe, even though we know, maybe we don't. We live in that tension of increasing our sense of knowledge and awareness and living with the power in that. And we increase our power even more by knowing that, you know what? Most of the time we don't know. Most of the time we're not for sure. And how can we live with that tension? I'll suggest one thing. Without prayer, nothing works. And so one of the things I do know is that men and women of real wisdom are men and women who understand the power of seeking the higher power to give them that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Those are the people who more and more will be able to say, now we know. And they are also the people who have the incredible wisdom and foresight to simply say, you know what? Right now, I don't know. But how can I help you? Right now, I don't know. But how can I help you? There we go. 13 minutes on Monday. What are you going to do about it? Well, okay, now that we know that Hillary did it, what does that mean? Now that we know that that's a good thing to know and how to seek that kind of clarity and wisdom and insight so we can say that, and then how do we live in the tension of knowing that in this imperfect, crashing, messy world, how do we live well so that more and more we will know, and we will know what is important, and we will know it well. Here's something I always know. Always close with a benediction. Always do that. Say good words. Pronounce a blessing. And so I know that to be true, and so I do it again. All the best and blessings to you on this Monday Eve, and may this week be one of your best for you. Bye for now.